Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the Reddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user throwaway scam 200k. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my stepdaughter's wedding? First, we're from South Asia and English is not my native tongue. I am 49 male and I will keep this as short as possible. But basically, my stepdaughter, 25 female, wants to marry her boyfriend, 25 male, which was fine and all. I had the money to pay for the wedding, so what could possibly go wrong? Her father, 54 male, has never been in the picture her whole life. He was a deadbeat father who never took care of his daughter and never paid child support, according to my fiance anyway. My stepdaughter was never rude to me and always showed respect, so I always showed respect for her and bought her all the necessities she needed. Maybe I paid too much. Now looking back, I realize I'm nothing more than an effing ATM. What was I thinking? Anyway, since I'm paying for a £200,000 wedding, I just asked that my mother and her two half siblings receive invitations, since they are her siblings. My fiance and her daughter were like, "Cool, we will." Now, obviously, this could be a mistake, but when the invitations came around, my stepdaughter informed me that she didn't want any children at her wedding. This seemed odd to me because my fiance's sister's children were invited, so why weren't her half-siblings invited? I asked her and she said it was just a mistake. Probably a red flag, but we moved on. Then a few days later, my stepdaughter's future in-laws came to my house and the in-laws asked a question targeting my daughter. They asked who was going to walk her down the aisle. To my shock, my stepdaughter announced it was her deadbeat effing clown of a father. My fiance was in shock too from this announcement, and my stepdaughter kept going on about how they had been in touch and the fact that he's her true father, blah blah blah. And at that point, I lost it. I then announced that her real father could pay for the wedding. He can't, lol, since I'm nothing but a blank check for my stepdaughter. My stepdaughter started screaming at me and all the guests left my house. My fiance wasn't too happy, stating that I humiliated her in front of her in-laws and the fact that they had both spent a year planning this wedding. I stated back that I wasted £200,000 on an ungrateful brat. I may be an a-hole for this, and spewed insults towards her father. As you can tell, I have hatred towards that man. So, am I the a-hole? Well, OP, before I say if you're an a-hole or not, there's one thing I would need to know. Were you ever told or promised or anything that you would be the one to walk her down the aisle? Or do you just assume that because you're paying for the wedding, that would be you? If you were promised it would be you and then it gets taken away from you for whatever reason because she's been in touch with her deadbeat dad or whatever, then no, of course, you're not the a-hole. You were lied to. Not that it has a price tag, but still, you were lied to. If nobody told you anything and you're just assuming it would be you, then I would have to go with no a-holes here. Now, having said that, £200,000 for a wedding? That's basically a house. I may be lacking creativity here because I honestly can't think of what they could be wanting for a wedding that it costs £200,000. And from what you say, it does sound like they're just using you to bankroll an unnecessary lavish wedding. And for that, they are the a-holes. So regardless of anything, OP, I would definitely stay strong on not spending £200,000. Maybe you can see if you can get some refunds or cancel some stuff because, wow, I still can't get over that amount of money. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Penelope 2023 says, not the a-hole. Petty person here. If you paid for it and can't get a refund, I would still cancel the order or change the delivery address. Catering paid for and no refund, cancel or change the delivery address to a local shelter. Flowers paid for, change the address to a local hospital. She sees you as an ATM. Crapser1 says, first of all, not the a-hole. You have a situation on your hands. Luckily, you're not married yet to your fiance. Have you signed any of the contracts for the venue, catering, etc.? If so, invoke any cancellation clauses, forfeit any deposits, and cancel everything with your name on it. Yes, you lose deposits, but they're sunk costs. Otherwise, make it very clear that you will be paying for nothing, and I mean nothing. No dress for your fiancé, no Uber rides, not one penny towards this debacle of mooching on your stepdaughter's part. Heck, I'd even go as far as to say that you won't be attending the wedding at all now, and your stepdaughter is an adult, so she can go about her business with her bio dad and leave you alone. Tell your fiancé that if she doesn't like it, she can take her gold-digging self and leave as well. If your stepdaughter's soon-to-be in-laws squawk one iota of anything, you politely tell them they are welcome to foot the bill instead of facilitating their son being a big moocher as well as themselves. If bio dad says anything, politely tell him he can pay for everything. At the end of the day, you need to set a boundary with your fiancé and her family that this isn't open season on your wallet. And Opie responds, heck yes. And Deleted says, not the a-hole, 200,000? Listen, you may have just lost a stepdaughter, but I can be the 33-year-old son you've never had, lol. For real though, 200,000 is outrageous, and the fact you're being disrespected to this extent, I'd take my money and run. Good luck, you seem like a good dude and good father. Hope this works out for you. Additional information from OP's comments. I understand that the amount of money is too much. It's just that I enjoy weddings in general and wanted to cherish the moment of walking my stepdaughter down the aisle. After all, I've been in her life for 15, soon to be 16 years, and the costs were all her and my fiancé's planning. Now, about my fiancé, we've been together for a long time, but I've never gotten married after my first marriage. And I think this is likely the end for us. Also, the groom is a very respectable man. He understood my perspective and asked if my decision was final, which I said it was. I told him not to let this situation ruin their relationship. And finally, just to briefly clarify, my stepdaughter told me I would walk her down the aisle. She lied and then proceeded to humiliate me in front of the guests. Alright, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that he should not be paying this crazy amount of money on any wedding, I'd say. Now, in my initial commentary, I just needed to ask one question that OP answered in this last statement. So yeah, my judgment is definitely not the a-hole. Now, OP has given us 3 updates to this whole situation. So let's move on with the updates. But before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, please, again, don't forget to click that like button and write a comment because all of that engagement really helps out my channel. And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you like my content and like to see more of it on your homepage. And now let's move on with that update. Lots of crap has happened these past few days and we have much to talk about. I probably should have mentioned this in my previous post, but I had nothing to do with the planning, nor did I want anything to do with the planning. It was all my fiancé and stepdaughter's planning. Anyway, a lot of you were concerned with the price of the wedding and you guys made me concerned too. So, as some of you requested, I asked my fiancé about the planning of the wedding, and I concluded that I'd just been a check to my fiancé and stepdaughter this entire time. In the planning, the actual wedding itself would only cost £40,000, which I can understand as there are over 400 plus guests. Again, we are South Asian. And the other $160,000 was going to be spent on a honeymoon to Dubai. Here's the crazy part, the people going on this trip were not just the newlyweds, it contained my fiancé and her sister's family, my stepdaughter, her man, along with his parents, and this invitation disgusts me, her deadbeat effing father. At that point, I saw red. I never agreed to pay for a honeymoon, only the effing wedding. And she said that the honeymoon was supposed to be a gift for the newlyweds. My fiancé said this so calmly, without any regret, and expected me to be okay with paying for other people's holidays. How could she possibly be sane to think it was a calm and rational idea to invite the man who she claimed refused to pay child support and was verbally abusive? I lost my cool and I told her that she and her daughter took advantage of my money and were selfish to leave her 2 young children alone with me and decided it would be a good idea to invite her deadbeat ex who literally tried to lay his hands on me years ago. She responded by saying it was her daughter's idea. I then replied to her and said, "You and your daughter have 7 days to get out of my house." and she started her circus act, but there was no going back. I then began the process of moving forward. I changed all my card pins so no more of my money could be used, and I began the refund process. I contacted the venue and suppliers, and they were actually really nice and offered refunds, but it will take a couple of working days, maybe weeks, to get it back. As for the tickets to Dubai, well, let's just say I'm lucky, I guess, as I was able to refund the tickets, £75,000, since I was still in fair conditions while the tickets were unused, which brought excitement for me. It hurts so much thinking how these people, who haven't worked as hard as I have, thought it would be a good idea to use my money on first-class tickets to Dubai. My fiancée told her daughter that I refunded the wedding and she didn't take it well. I won't go into too much details as I have talked long enough, but I was petty at the end and said that her real dad could pay for it. This has been a crap show of a couple of days. I can't see my 2 young children every day now, and I have lost my fiancé, but I have some good news. My oldest son, 25 male, gave his newborn my surname, which made me smile. At least someone appreciates me. Also, I decided to take my kids to Dubai on holiday. Wow, Opie, that was some next level bullet dodging. $75,000 for a whole family to go on first class tickets to Dubai? That's just crazy, man. You were being taken advantage of. Oof. Anyways, like I said, there's still 2 more updates, so let's continue with the next one. I didn't expect to make another update, but much has happened, so here we go again. Firstly, as soon as I kicked my ex and her daughter out of my house, they went to social media to accuse me of controlling them with my wealth and being petty over canceling the wedding because of small issues. However, what they didn't include in the post is the fact that I never agreed to pay for the honeymoon. Also, my ex is saying I'm controlling them with my wealth, yet she is still begging for me to take her back. So, I'm the bad guy and my ex and her daughter are innocent people. Make it make sense. Secondly, I lost about $2,000 in total on refunding wedding stuff, which I believe is, of course, expensive. Overall, it was a win on my side, considering how I initially predicted I would lose $15,000 to $20,000. I thank my ex and her daughter for not spending $200,000 on a wedding, but on a wedding and plane tickets to Dubai. They saved me lots of money. Thirdly, my stepdaughter came across this post through TikTok and she is ordering me to take it down. But to be honest, I think my ex and her daughter are narcissistic as they truly believe their opinion only matters and that I don't deserve free will and should conform to them at all costs. But I won't. She is truly a hypocrite for suggesting that I should take down my post when she has a fake Facebook post blurting false facts. Maybe I'm the cause for these people being so entitled. Fourthly, my kids are now staying with me and they want to stay with me long term. My ex and her daughter went from a luxurious lifestyle to a cheap apartment, and my kids, let's just say they didn't take it well and want to stay with me. Which is a problem I need to solve since I work many hours, but I don't want my children suffering because of my ex. Finally, my stepdaughter and her fiancé broke up because of false promises of a nice wedding and honeymoon to Dubai all gone. Her now ex-fiancé accused her and my ex of theft. I may have told them and his family about what they planned, and other things. I have truly got a lot of respect for him now. He completely understood my perspective and I can't thank him enough. My ex and her daughter came into my house thanks to my younger kids opening the door for them, and it turned into a shouting match that ended with me threatening to call the police. They left the house blaming me for everything, and I said, get your real dad to pay for the wedding and honeymoon. I also told them that I was going to Dubai with the kids, and they didn't take that well. I wish I could cut my ex off, but unfortunately, she is the mother of my 2 children. This surely is the final update, but if it isn't, then it's lawsuit time, and I will tell you all about it. Well, OP, I would kinda call this a positive update for you, considering you didn't have to spend more than £2,000 in this whole thing, but the only downside is that you're still connected to your ex because of your children, which of course you have to because she is the mother. Now, I did mention that OP gave us 3 updates, and the last one is a very short post also posted on Am I the A-hole, but it claims to be a petty revenge, so let's finish this story with that. The title reads, I have gotten petty revenge on my stepdaughter and ex by going on their dream holiday. My ex and her daughter tried booking a holiday to Dubai behind my back with my hard-earned money, so I kicked them both out of my house and took my children to Dubai. Life can do wonders. And here's a picture that OP posted, which I'm guessing is from inside the airport. And of course you could say, but LG, don't be so naive, anybody can get that picture off of Google. And I did do a Google reverse search, and no exact picture came back like this one. There were some similar pictures, but the people just didn't match. So on that note, I'll just say, OP, hopefully you had a fantastic holiday with your kids in Dubai and you guys all enjoyed it very much. So here's wishing you the best in the future. Thank you for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user NoYesterday8836. Thieving bully demands I take him home in order to give him my fundraising earnings. I comply, and it works out beautifully for me. I was in middle school in the 90s. I loved growing up then, and even though there were gangs in my area, I generally avoided trouble. One of my classes had a big field trip planned, and we were to sell chocolates to raise money for it. I was pretty good at it and was selling at a good rate. I would take the bus, public transportation, to school, and my stop was about 2 blocks from my home. I got off at my stop one day with my box of chocolates, and there was this older kid, around 16 or 17, pretty big for his age, hanging out there. He saw me and came towards me. This guy is clearly a gangbanger. Payaso comes up to me and says, "Hey homie, where are you from?" He was asking what gang I was from. It's not the first time I've gotten challenged like this, so I just reply, "I don't bang, man, I'm just a junior high kid." Payaso looks at my box of chocolates and takes it from me. "What's this?" I tell him it's nothing, it's something for school. He opens the box and sees a bunch of dollars in there. He grabs the bills, around 15, my sales for the day, and takes a bunch of chocolate as well. "Tomorrow you're going to give me 20 more. If you don't, we are going to have a real effing problem." I walk away feeling scared and pissed off. I realized I was going to have to pay back the money I lost on my birthday, and I definitely didn't want to give this guy any more money. I think about it and decide I'll get off at a later bus stop from now on and walk a little more just to avoid this guy. The next day, this is what I do. I stuffed my box in my backpack just in case, and I exited about 2 stops later. I don't see the guy and think I have solved my problem. Then I get to the liquor store a block away from home, and who do I see but this overgrown idiot Payaso. "Hey man, you didn't forget about me, did you?" I said, "Look man, I don't have any money right now. I don't even have my chocolates. I left them at home." I shouldn't have said that. "Okay, let's go to your house and you're going to give me the money or something else if you don't got it." I begin getting real nervous. My mom is at work and my grandma is home. I definitely don't want to bring him home with her there. I glance at him and notice the tattoos on his arms. At this point, I saw the perfect opportunity for malicious compliance. I tell him, "I don't think that's a good idea. Why don't you just let me go, man?" Payaso grabs me by the collar and says, "I'll tell you what to do and you effing do it, you understand?" I nod my head and tell him to follow me. Now it's time to give a little background. My neighbor that lived in the house next to mine was a veterano, a veteran of one of the biggest, most notorious gangs in the city. He was in his 40s and a real chill dude. He loved my grandma because she would often share plates of food she made with him and his wife. And he was fond of me because I taught his 8-year-old boy how to play baseball. His son had a disability, a problem with one of his legs, so most other kids wouldn't play with him, but I often did. Let's call my neighbor OG. OG always had a bunch of guys over at his house. He made sure they never caused problems, and they were all respectful towards my family in particular. Back to Payaso. The tattoos on his arms? I realized he was from the same gang as OG. I have a big smile as I'm walking home, and Payaso asks me, "Why are you smiling, pendejo?" I say, "No reason," and keep walking home. As we get closer, I see a bunch of guys hanging out at OG's house. Payaso narrows his eyes and then smiles as he recognizes some of the guys. We get to OG's house and Payaso says, "Wait here, pendejo, let me talk to my homies." OG is sitting on his porch and Payaso starts greeting some of the guys and then heads towards OG and greets him in a reverential manner. OG notices me and says my name. "Hey OP, what's up?" Payaso turned to look at me and I said, "Payaso told me to wait here. I have to go home and give him money." OG stands up and says, "Why do you have to give him money?" I say, "Because he told me yesterday at my bus stop that the $15 and chocolates he took from me wasn't enough and I had to give him more today." Payaso begins to speak. "You know this kid, OG?" OG gives him the scariest look I've ever seen and tells him to shut the F up. OG looks back at me and asks, "Is this from the chocolates you're selling?" I said yes. OG asks me how many chocolates I have left to sell. I say about 50. He tells me not to worry. Payaso is going to pay me for the 50 I have left plus 20 for the day before and an extra 50 for my trouble. He tells me to keep whatever else I say. He tells me to go home and Payaso would be back later with my money. About an hour later, there is a knock on my door and Payaso has an envelope and says, "Here's 120 little homie, I effed up, I'm sorry. Do you have Nintendo? I brought you some games." I just stood there stunned and thinking how I would never have guessed that getting robbed had so many benefits. I didn't see Payaso too many times after that, but whenever I did, he would wave at me and never bothered me again. Well, OP, I gotta say, at the beginning I thought that your neighbor was gonna be in another gang and it would have been a whole different story, but I'm glad it turned out well for you. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.